Okay. I want to welcome everybody to Pima GOP headquarters for Pima County. I'm David Eppiheimer, the county chair, and it's great to see such a nice crowd and our crowd on YouTube. Welcome to our county headquarters and our first brown bag, bring your own lunch, get together with our candidates here in Pima County. I want to thank Bobby Jo King for organizing this. Great idea. It was her brainchild, and we're happy that you came. Let's start with a Pledge of Allegiance, if you'll stand. Follow me, if you will, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Let me introduce our two candidates, and I'll just give a brief introduction because I know you don't want to hear from me anymore. You'd like to hear from them. Lea Marquez-Peterson, right here, was our candidate for CD2 Congress last time around, and she is currently a commissioner in the help me out, Lea.
Arizona Corporation
Commission. Thank you. I just blanked for a second. And is serving the remainder of a term and seeking her re-election. So thank you, Lea. And Eric Sloan is running also Republican candidate for Corporation Commission. There are two candidates that qualified for the ballot at this point, and we do have a write-in, but he's not here today, and we have our two qualified candidates for the ballot. Eric has been a candidate before and is well known throughout the state, and we welcome both of you to our Pima County headquarters, and we're very anxious to hear what you have to say.
Terrific, thank you so much.
And with that, I'll turn it over to them.
Terrific. Well, let me just say it's great to be back in Pima County. My first campaign event I ever did in 2017 in the last election was here in Pima County. So this is a bit of a coming home for me because it looks like we're going to be the Republican nominees for the Corporation Commission. So I'm very excited about that.
Great, and it's great to be here in my home county, GOP headquarters. I live in LD9. I live here in Tucson. And I serve now on a statewide commission, the Corporation Commission. There are 5 of us on the board, 4 Republicans, 1 Democrat, and 3 seats open this time. That's why it may seem a bit confusing, but with 3 seats open, only the 2 of us are on the ballot. You'll see us coming up as you get that ballot in the mail in July. And then we are working with a write-in candidate, Jim O'Connor, who we hope to fill that 3rd seat as a Republican. There are also 3 Democrats running in the general. So there's a lot at stake in this upcoming election. If we can't hold these seats Republican, we can see higher energy costs, more mandates. I mean, it's going to be more cost out of your pocket. So we really need to have pro-business Republican candidates in place on the Arizona Corporation Commission. And I'll explain real quickly and then turn it back to Eric. What is the Corporation Commission? Because I know I'm trying to get out and speak to different groups and most folks aren't aware of it. And I get that. I wasn't as aware before I was appointed by the governor last year to the commission. But we regulate the utilities, electricity, water, gas, and wastewater. We do railroad and pipeline safety. We handle all the business and corporations in the state, and we handle securities fraud and go after bad guys that are taking advantage of people in Arizona. So think of the breadth of different issues we're touching. And it's important that we have Republican perspective on this commission. I've seen it firsthand, and we can get into more of those details. Right this moment in this campaign, Eric and I need your support, your family, your friends' support for $5 donations because we are running clean elections. And we're doing that because there had been so much rumor of corruption and different issues related to the CorpCom in the past that it was important that we only take $5 from people and not be beholden to any special interest groups out there. And we are still in process of getting our 5s, as is Jim O'Connor, the write-in. So we've got forms here today, and I'll pass it back to Eric, though, to talk
So
about.
as Lea said, we have forms here today for everybody if you would be willing to fill them out and donate $5. But also, we can post a link online where you'll be able to go online and donate to all 3 Corporation Commission Republican candidates. But also, if there's a clean elections race in your local jurisdiction for the legislature, you'll be able to donate to that candidate also. I think one of the more important things that we need to talk about with regards to this race, and Lea brought it up, and Lea was appointed by the governor and then almost immediately voted on the ethics, the new
code of
ethics rules.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for that, because I think that that's really important, that we need to have good ethics when it comes to our elected officials and how they're interacting in their positions with the people that they regulate, right? And so one of the things that has really been a focus of mine is a fair deal for consumers, right? And it's something that you're going to hear about over and over and over again. And interestingly enough, with COVID, this became a much bigger deal. And now that we're moving into some economic turmoil because of what happened with COVID, and now because of what's happening in our country, we need to put more of a focus on how do we make it a little bit easier for people to pay their bills and make ends meet. And when you're talking about paying your bills and making ends meet, you've got a monthly bill and utilities, and that's where the Corporation Commission comes in. And that's why it's so important to elect corporation commissioners who understand the value of a dollar. Now, I'm a small business owner. Lea has several successful small businesses, and I think that that's a perspective that we can bring to the commission.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's an important perspective, because you think beyond your mortgage, the next probably biggest bill you're paying are the utilities. We regulate all the electricity companies. So here, Tucson Electric Power, Trico, if you're kind of out in the Sierra Vista area, and so on. But there are more than 300 water companies that we regulate, which most people are surprised. So the private investor-owned water companies. So before us in a year, we could see 50, 60, 70 different rate cases. And it's important that we weigh in. We make sure that it's affordable, there's reliable service, there's not rate shock for people as investments are made. And we're really bringing that business perspective to so many of these different companies that we're working with. So it really makes a difference, and it's important to also realize this is statewide. So we're not broken up like Congress people, right, in different districts. This is the entire state. So whether I'm in Mojave County or Navajo Nation or Sierra Vista or Douglas or whatever it may be, everyone is dealing with right now the COVID-19 crisis and the financial impact. It's devastating. So many people on unemployment and furloughed and lost jobs. It's been the top focus in the current commission on how we provide customer relief and utility assistance programs.
So with that said, are there any questions about the commission?
Lea, I have a question. What authority do you have over the cable operators such as Cox Cable?
Oh, good. I was getting that question earlier. They're a little different, a telecom business, because the pricing is dealt with by the FCC at the federal level, but the infrastructure for broadband is the commission. So we regulate the Universal Service Fund, which is a line item on your cell phone bill. A portion of that goes to infrastructure in the state. Another big portion goes to rural broadband access. So that's a passion I have around broadband access for underserved communities. And I'm serving on a national task force and on a state of Arizona task force right now. But it's related to the infrastructure, how you get it out to the homes, not so much the pricing and things of that nature. The FCC really manages that piece.
Does that infrastructure portion of the pie go out into the Indian nations as well?
A portion. We need to make changes. One of the things I'm currently working on with my staff is how do we change legislatively? And we are like a fourth branch of government. We're written into the Constitution. So with 3 votes, we can do a lot on the commission versus going out to the state legislature and so on. But can we shift this Universal Service Fund from this broadband landline formula it has for rural Arizona to something that really focuses on broadband? So we're working on a lot of projects right now to try and help expand. There's not enough resources yet, and only about 25% of rural Arizona has broadband right now. So imagine, as you've all been doing maybe Zoom calls or online, your kids are doing homework and all that, you can't do that in rural Arizona. So we've been working on a lot of different programs related to that.
Broadband access and broadband redundancy are going to be major issues moving into the next 10 years.
I don't think so for telemedicine and all of the other.
Well, to your point, but the other part of that is that when you're talking about being the tip of the spear in an economic recovery at this point, and economic development in the future, you have to be able to get online. My wife and I have a business and a home in Prescott, and when we went to go buy that home, we couldn't close on the title because the internet went down in the town. And when the internet went down in the town, they couldn't finalize the title. I had never thought of such a thing, but then things like that make you realize that there's really a lot of work that needs to be done. I think you're going to see a lot of investment from the federal government into rural Arizona, and especially into the Native American nations here in Arizona. But one of the things that I've been hearing, and I know you have on the campaign trail also, is constituent services. There needs to be a better outlet for a consumer who's having a problem with a cable company or having a problem with an internet provider. And even though there are split jurisdictions, there has to be someone that you can call to advocate on your behalf, to elevate your case. And I think the commission would be a good place for that. And so that's one of the things that I've been talking about on the campaign trail. So thank you for that question.
Now, I'll kind of add on to
Yeah.
that. That's a very good point. I think we need better communication. We regulate, in some way, the 911 service. So if you don't have redundancy, like Eric mentioned, and the
Yeah.
systems goes down, when you call with your cell phone 911, it will not work.
Right.
Right? So that is public health and safety, life or death situation. So we need to see redundancy in the lines. Phoenix and Tucson, maybe not top of mind for us, but if you're in Prescott or Payson
Right.
or in rural Arizona, that's certainly a concern.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
You say that you guys are in charge of making sure that utility costs are reasonable in the state. What about such areas that are part of the state, such as a city or a town? Are you involved in that?
Well, you mean if it's owned by a municipality?
No. Take the city of Tucson.
Okay.
They've got a water bill. That's one item. There's another 10 items of varying taxes of varying kinds involved in it. How do you guys get involved in that? Do you or do you not?
So we don't regulate things that are owned by the municipality. So in Tucson Water, any increase, any line item or surcharge you're seeing is the mayor and council.
Right.
Tucson
So-
Electric Power, though, is private investor owned. We regulate TEP.
I see.
We regulate
Okay.
Southwest Gas. But if it's
So if you had a
city owned
private
or
water
county,
company rather than the city, you'd be keeping an eye on those figures.
yeah,
Yes.
our county owns wastewater.
Yep,
We don't regulate that.
yep, okay.
But I mean, I just spoke actually at the Arizona Municipality Utility Association meeting about collaboration. We're all kind of dealing with the same things, especially in this COVID-19 environment. How do we protect the employees, protect the customers? Southwest Gas, if they come to your home right now, they're wearing masks, they're social distancing, things like that. It's the same situation in municipalities as it is with private investor owned. We also need utility assistance programs. We're seeing large amounts of bad debt from people who can't pay their bills right now.
Right.
Behind you, I have a question. Either one. Outside money that comes in to influence things the commission is working on, or voter initiatives to sort of nullify maybe the commission's business. Comments on that, educate us, things you want to tell us about that? Is that a problem? Is that something the commission has to deal with?
Well, I'll take the first crack at this. I think one of the things that's really important to understand is that, in the last election in 2018, there was an organization called CHISPA who spent $3 million to get a Democrat elected to the Corporation Commission. Now, you're not going to hear about that in the newspaper because it doesn't fit the narrative that the newspaper wants to tell, right? In my own election and in this race, this organization, along with other organizations, challenged my signatures and challenged the signatures of five other Republicans, right? So, four of them did not make it. I was the only person who did make it. And the reason I made it is because their lawsuit was frivolous and was thrown out in the lower court and then subsequently thrown out again in the Supreme Court. So I'd say now in the campaign trail, we beat them in the lower court, we beat them at the Supreme Court, now we're going to beat them at the ballot box, right? But make no doubt about it, there are going to be millions and millions of dollars spent in Arizona, not just in the Corporation Commission race. The Democrats see a pathway to fundamentally change politics in Arizona. And we're seeing that at the U.S. Senate level. We're also seeing that with, for example, Mayor Bloomberg is putting $5 million in Arizona to do gun control legislation. They call it gun control, but what it really means is they want to take away your guns. $5 million. I think there was about $37 million spent by Tom Steyer 2 years ago on Prop 127. So there is a lot of money that's being poured into Arizona by outside groups who want to influence the election, and people need to be made aware of that.
And I'll add, Eric mentioned at the beginning that my first month on the job, we signed a code of ethics. And it's something the commissioners worked on for quite a while, and it was a major part of
Yes.
your last campaign. So I was very proud to sign that, because that said we would not take any money as candidates from any company that we regulate. We also went a step further and had our APS CEO, the new CEO, commit to not engage in the Corporation Commission races. And in the past they had, and that
They
was
had,
not
yeah,
good.
sure.
Yeah. We hadn't seen that much of that down here in the Tucson area and heard of it, but in Phoenix it was top of mind for so many of the voters. So I'm feeling much more confident. It's the reason that I'm running clean elections also, I'm sure Eric also.
Yes.
That $5, that we're not getting bought or we're not getting influence. It's $5 from everyone we can. Any party can support our race. Once we qualify, in the primary we'll get, I think it's 115,000 or so
Approximately, yes.
for the primary that we'll spend by the end of July. And then in the general, we'll get 170,000. Which is, it sounds like a lot, it's not a lot to cover the entire state though, so we will be doing signs and
Right.
digital ads, whatever we can to create awareness of the race and name recognition.
And I think one of the things that's really important for folks to understand is that, the $5 that you're giving, the matching funds come from court fees, okay, and fines. So these are not coming out of tax dollars. The other thing that I think is incredibly important, especially for Republicans to understand, is that having well-funded, good candidates in down-ballot races, bless you, is really important for driving voters to the polls in all over Arizona, right? There are going to be a lot of people. So we had 200,000 people show up for President Trump in 2016 who did not show up in 2018. In 2018, from the top of the ticket in the Senate race to where Justin Olson was in the Corporation Commission race, 25% of people never made it to the bottom of the ticket. Now, it's a short trip. They should make it to the bottom of the ticket. But they only make it there if we tell them to make it there. If we inform them why it's important. If we get them to understand the Corporation Commission. And that is why these funds are so vital. And so that is the reason why we're asking everyone, please go online to the links that are listed here or fill out a paper form. You can come down here to the Pima County GOP headquarters, fill out those forms. Lea will have my forms and Jim O'Connor's forms. I will have Leah's and Jim O'Connor's forms. If you see Jim O'Connor out there, hi Jim. He has Leah's forms and my forms. It's very important that we get this done. And, we really need to get this done by the end of June. And so if you could, expediency is an issue. Thanks.
And I'll also put a plug in for, if you're on social media and you can go to our pages and share what we're already posting, we just need to create an awareness about the Corporation Commission race and how important it is to keep these seats Republican. See, that costs nothing, just getting out there and sharing our Facebook, our Twitter, or whatever other kind of social media you're on. That would be great too.
Right. Terrific.
More back here. How many fives does a Corporation Commission candidate need?
1,500.
1,500?
Plus a buffer.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Give us some encouragement. Are you making progress, or?
Oh, significant. I think Lea is well ahead of me because I had to take a month and a half off for a court case here. But I'm at about 1,000 now.
Okay.
So we need to get another 500 minimum, 800 maximum is where we're looking at that. One of the things I am encouraging folks to do is to do those online. If you do a $5 contribution online, it is unchallengeable. You can't challenge it. Okay, if you do a paper form, if they decide to challenge the signature on the paper form, I'm going right back to court to fight to restore every single signature like I did when I was working hard to get on the ballot. And so if you can, please go online. It's very easy to donate to all three of us at that point while you're online. And that's the most effective and efficient way to do it. Now, I realize there's some folks who don't want to do that. They don't want to go online. They don't like online. They think the internet may be passing fad. Who knows? Maybe it's going to go away net tomorrow. But the reality of it is that that's the best way to do it.
And I'll say in my $5 donations, I'm about within 100 to qualify. And then I need that buffer, so I'm right at the end. So if you haven't yet given, please help push me over that edge.
one major problem you've got to consider. In this community alone, we have 130,000 veterans.
Yes, sir.
When you think veterans, you think a guy as old as I am that can't hear too well. So these types of things, you're going to have to find a way to get to us if we've got a problem, because so many of them, and I work with veterans every day, that, you know, we bury them when they die. And they think it's all taken care of. By whom, I don't know. The point I'm making is you've got a group of people out there that are very willing to help, but you've got to get to them.
Right.
So keep that in mind.
And if there are events, sir, that we could come speak at or be present at or something, please, you know, let us know that too.
I would have said yes until this virus came along and knocked us out of first place.
It's kind of taken a couple months out of our
Yeah.
sales too, as we just try to switch to Zoom meetings and being on Facebook. But things are slowly opening up. So if you hear of meetings anytime before November,
Yeah.
please let
And
us
if we
know.
have a problem, how do we get a hold of you people?
I'll leave you cards
Sure.
here.
Absolutely.
Eric, what's that website for the donation?
Go to the Secretary of State's website.
azsos.gov.
And then it'll be- Yeah.
And I'm gonna leave a couple.
azsos.gov.
I'm gonna leave my official card. So
Yeah.
if you have an issue with utilities, that's it. And then I'll leave you a campaign
And then I'll
card.
bring you some cards from me.
Okay.
And then you'll see an equal, the equal button there, EQUAL. And then you'll be able to go through the steps there to donate online. And thank you for doing that, Dave.
Now, do you work in one office, all 5 of you?
We have a building in Phoenix, and then because I live here in Tucson, I have an office in the state building here in Tucson, so people don't have to travel up there.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because it's a big state, and you
Yeah.
guys are in one place. That's difficult to get to from somebody who lives way out in the edges.
Yeah.
No, I think that's one of the main reasons, and let me just say this, I think it's really important that we have some geographic diversity when it comes to the Corporation Commission. And having Lea on the commission representing Southern Arizona, I think is a big bonus for all of us. I spend a good portion of my time in Prescott because I live there and have a business there. Having someone there who can do community relations and constituent services for Northern Arizona, I think is something that would be very good for the state. A lot of folks think that all of Arizona is in Maricopa County, and that's a big problem. And we're gonna have to do a lot to convince folks in Maricopa County that that's not the case.
Is Maricopa County part of Arizona?
It is.
That's right.
See, it's a two-way communication. You've got to go
Jim
where
is
the
from
people are that are involved with it, and we've got to get you guys out of that office occasionally, but where you are so we can get back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been doing a lot of traveling. I know Lea was doing a lot of traveling before the COVID deal. We've picked it back up. I was just in Gila County and Payson going door to door. Then back in Gilbert last night. Here this morning, I'll be in Green Valley tomorrow. And then that's as far as I've looked at my calendar, but I know we've got some adventures planned moving into the weekend. So
Yeah. We're starting to get invitations for actual events, especially in the Phoenix area.
Yeah.
I was down in Benson last weekend. They had an event. I'm going to Green Valley also. So slowly
That's
it's
good.
opening up. So
sure.
Because you guys represent us,
yeah.
and if you're not representing us, then what are we?
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
I'll give
That's
you
right.
a couple of these cards too. Hold on. Sorry, I'll be out of your camera shot for a second. Here's my campaign and my official card.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Nope. All right. How about we give some closing statements and wrap it up and just say, first and foremost, thank you for taking the time to watch this online. Thank you to everyone who came today to Brown Bag Lunch. I think this is wonderful that we got to do this together. This is one of the first events we've actually gotten to kind of do this the way that we're doing this, and so it's very nice. Please go online to the Secretary of State's website or to our individual websites. My website is ericsloan.com. Lea is
Voteforlea.com. Vote for LEA.
voteforlea.com. And if you could go on and please contribute, that would be a massive help to us. It's the most important thing you can do for our campaign. But more importantly, it's the most important thing you can do to help us get the message out to everybody in Arizona about how important it is to elect Republicans, because there is a fundamental difference now, and I think it's never been more clear than it is today, there is a fundamental difference between how Democrats view freedom and how Republicans view freedom, right? And one of the things that we're experiencing, and I'm, the father of an 8-year-old, and I've been married for 12 years, and I'm very concerned about what's happening in this country. And it only takes one generation for freedom to go extinct. And sadly, I think we're seeing part of that generation now, looting and rioting in our streets. And the only way that we're going to win this war is to elect Republicans and to elect people who have our values and who genuinely care about this country and want people to be more free, not less free. So, with that said, please go to ericsloan.com, go to Vote for Lea. Please donate to our campaigns, and I'll turn it over to Lea.
No, and I'll just reiterate what Eric said and remind you that there are 3 seats open. So please vote for Lea, vote for Eric, write in Jim O'Connor, and please support us with $5 donations so we can qualify and get our name out there and really create name recognition throughout the state. But thank you all for your time. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank the both of you for coming and giving your thoughts to us and participating in our first brown bag. Thank you so much. And to our audience on YouTube, thank you for watching. And before we close out, I want to introduce three people to you that are either candidates for other offices or former Republican representatives here in Pima County. First, I'll put age before beauty and introduce the Honorable Paul Marsh, who is a former Pima County supervisor and did an excellent job at that point in time. We had for a while a 3-person majority on that board of supervisors, and they got a lot of good work done. Thank you, Paul. And we have Nick Pearson over here, who's a former CD3 candidate, ran against Raul, and Nick is now a candidate for TUSD School Board, and so he's always looking for support too. And over here by the Trump side is Benny White, who is Republican candidate for County Recorder. And County Recorder, like the Corporation Commission, has immense power and influences our elections more than the average voter knows. And if there's a guy who's qualified and has the education and background to be County Recorder, it's Benny White. So Benny and Nick need your support and talk them up. They'll do great jobs if they get elected.
Thank you, David. That's bennyforrecorder.com.
Okay. Anything the two of you want to add just about your campaigns? This is an opportunity to get it out on YouTube too.
I would like to add just one comment to something that Eric said, that there is an agenda in the Democratic Party to change the election laws in Arizona through court proceedings. I am running in Pima County to serve as a bulwark to stop that from happening. Stephen Riker in Maricopa County is running to do the same thing. You need both of those 2 major county recorders to be Republicans to go to federal court and stop what the Democrats are trying to do to this state. Thank you.
Thank you, Benny. Nick, you want to say anything to the audience on YouTube?
Sure, you can like me on Facebook and go to my website, Nick, at Pearson for TUSD. It's pearsonfortusd.com is the website. This is an important race. I'm doing it for improving the education for our children. Los niños y la comunidad primero, that's our motto. The kids in the community first. So we need your support. We're going to make some changes in the school district. It's long overdue, and we need your support. Thank you very much.
Terrific. And if you don't know, Bobby Joe King is our executive director here and runs the office very well. And Chris King right over here, who's merely a shadow of his former self, is our first vice chair of the county party and helps me out immensely. So
He's running for bail.
Thank you. I forgot that. Chris is a candidate for the Vail School Board. Chris, you want to say anything to the YouTube audience?
Not right now.
Okay. All right. Terrific. Thank you for that reminder. Thank you. With that, if there's no more comments or questions, we'll bring our YouTube and brown bag lunch to conclusion, and thank you for coming.